Ni hao, DV Asia. So today I'm going to show you some of my personal favorite tips and tricks inside of After Effects CS6. And I wanted to go a little bit more in depth into one of my favorite new features, which is the 3D camera tracker. And what makes the 3D camera tracker so nice is that it's very, very simple and easy to use. And it really achieves nice results with a minimum of having to go through and tweak your files and tweak how the track happens. The basic idea of a 3D camera tracker is this analyzes a piece of video and tries to determine the 3D geometry. So it tries to pick out what objects are in the foreground, what objects are in the background. And the great thing about this is it's really, really simple to use. So I'm just going to start with a piece of video in Mumbai on my way here to Taipei. So this was just shot out of the taxi. It's actually shot using the built-in phone camera that I have. So it's actually pretty good quality video, but what we're going to try and do here is track a picture into the billboard. So in order to do that, I'm going to go ahead and drag and drop the 3D camera tracker onto this. So we'll go ahead and just type into my little search engine here, 3D camera, and I found the new 3D camera tracker effect. And we can drag and drop this right onto the clip, and it's going to go through the process of actually analyzing this. And the great thing about the camera tracker is while this step is going on, I can continue to work on other parts, other compositions. I don't have to wait around for this. So this is going through and doing the analysis. It's actually pretty fast in analyzing the clips. So if we give this just about 20 or 30 seconds, this will be done. While that's analyzing, I'm just going to showcase one other feature that I really, really like that's inside of After Effects CS6. This is a big time saver when we're working with multiple compositions and we need to go in and maybe render another composition so that we're going to be able to preview it and see it later on. So what I can do is actually double click on another composition, and right now this hasn't been previewed at all. It's not loaded up in RAM, it hasn't been saved anywhere. If I hold down Command Enter on my keyboard or Control Enter on a Windows machine, you'll notice in the upper corner it's saying something about connecting to a background renderer. So this is something that can be really handy. You can be working on one composition while After Effects is actually rendering out the other composition so that we can RAM preview it and we can see it. So I've got both of these things going on here. I'm going to go ahead and jump back over to my starting shot. And what you'll notice here is it's finished up. We've actually got the track is done at this point. I've got my 3D camera tracker selected. And as I scroll through this, what you're going to notice is that all the different objects in the scene actually have these little tiny X's. And as I roll my mouse across these, you're seeing this big gigantic bullseye here, depending on the different layer, the different part of the footage that I'm working with. What this is doing is it's taking 3 tracking points. After the analysis is complete, it's tried to figure out where the different planes in space are, where the 3D geometry in the shot is. And so you can see I'm rolling my mouse across these billboards, and you're seeing that it's picking out 3 points, and the target is kind of aligning itself with the billboard. Once I've got this done, if I see any additional points on the billboard, I can actually hold down the Control or Command key and click on them to try and add additional points if I want to try and make the track maybe a little bit more accurate. So you can see here I'm adding a couple of additional points that I can see. These points are a little bit tiny on the billboard, but I can still make them out and click on them. And you can see how I'm slowly adding additional tracking points. If I want to get out of that, I can just click off of it. This is actually doing a very good job of tracking to the billboard with just these first 3 initial points. So I'll go ahead and select that, and I want to put a picture onto the billboard. So to do that, when I right-click on the bullseye, I can choose between creating text, which I'm sure you've seen already, creating a solid, which can be useful. In this case, what I'm going to do is create something called a null. Now when I create a null, what a null is it's sort of a little invisible object that acts as an anchor, and I can attach things to it. So now that I've added my null to my composition, I'm going to go over to my project bin, and I've got a photograph that I've been working on here. So I can take this photograph, and I'm just going to drag this and drop it down into my project. Oh, giant Karl. Okay, this is just directly off of my camera. I haven't pre-processed this picture. This is also from my trip to India. So you can see here, I've just dragged and dropped in this clip, and it's a full big 18 megapixel picture. So just so I can see what I'm doing here, I'm going to go ahead and transform and scale this down just a little bit here so that we kind of see that this is now inside my composition. Now to make this active and actually get it onto the billboard, I need to get it where the null object is. I want to anchor it to that null object. So the first thing I need to do is make this picture a 3D layer. So we do that by clicking on the little 3D layer indicator. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to parent it using this little tool called the pick whip. Now there's one additional step that we want to do. There's a keyboard command, and this is something to remember if you're going to use this. If you hold down the Shift key when you parent an object, if I don't hold down the Shift key, what's going to happen is the picture is going to stay in its current position, and it's going to be parented to this little box here, but it's not going to be in the same location. So the real key here is you want to make sure and move the picture to that object, and by holding down the Shift key, After Effects will do this for you automatically. So I'm going to hold down the Shift key, and I'm going to grab the pick whip from the picture and drag it to connect it to this null object. So when I release the mouse, After Effects is thinking for a second, and now it's going to take that picture and it's going to move it where the null object is. So once this is done, there's probably going to be a little bit of positioning that I'm going to have to maybe fine-tune and tweak this a little bit, but it gets me 99% of the way there. So I can see right now I probably need to adjust the scaling property a little bit on this picture, so we'll go ahead and bring the scale of this down quite a bit so that this size is in here. And I'm also going to use a new viewing mode in here to kind of speed up After Effects in a 3D composition. We'll use what's called fast draft mode. And that's just going to speed up that whole process of adjusting size and everything else so I can get things dialed in position here. So now I can see I probably need to rotate the picture just a little tiny bit here so we can grab these rotation properties. I don't have to reanimate these. I can just make kind of a subtle adjustment here to the picture, and we'll just kind of get it rough in the ballpark here. I can also use some keyboard shortcut commands here to do this in a very fine-tuned way. By holding down the Command or Control key, I can do this in a very fine-tuned fashion. But the best thing about this is if you just hit play on this, what you'll notice is that 99% of the work is already done. We've got the picture tracked into the billboard, and we're pretty much ready to go. Now, one thing that the 3D camera tracker does not do is what is called occlusion. And the idea behind that is it does not automatically take into account like if an object moves in front of the billboard. And you can see here this yellow truck is actually obscuring the beginning of the billboard. It's still tracking the picture to the billboard, which is really, really nice. But the one next step that I would have to do here, if I wanted to have the truck drive in front of the billboard, is I would probably use something like the Roto Brush in After Effects and actually take this, this truck and kind of paint out a section of it so that we would have another layer on top that would actually obscure the billboard. So you can see how quick and easy it is to get started using this 3D camera tool. And we're already starting to see people using this in different ways of locking 3D text into a scene, you know, replacing a picture like what you're seeing here. It's a really, really powerful tool. Now just to finish this up, I'm going to go back over to the other composition that I was working with. Again, this one is actually going through and rendering in the background right now, and I can see that the whole time that I was doing all that work in my other composition, the background cache is busy rendering away on this very long composition. So this is actually continue to work while I'm over working in another composition. So we'll just let that continue to work here, and as this finishes up, you know, I'll have this composition ready to start playing this one back as well. So really handy time saver. Remember the keyboard command is Control-Enter or Command-Enter on a Macintosh. Really, really nice way of kind of jumping in and getting a composition rendered while you're doing other work in other parts of After Effects. So those are two of my main favorite new features inside of After Effects. I'm loving the 3D camera tracker, and I'm also loving some of the speed improvements with After Effects with all the caching that's going on, and this new background cache is a really great thing. So I hope that helps. Thanks again for watching.